but we are going to proceed because understand whatever the problem is hasn't affected our recording for the purpose of the transcript.
Thank you.
So
we'll proceed.
We'll continue. Let's continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ambassador Kolwane was still mentioning matters that you found to be matters of concern in the JCPS report.
Yeah, I just wanted to indicate, Chair, that on the very last meeting when I was called in to clarify the answers that I had provided, when I got onto my radio, Minister Jeff Khateb was already reading on television the outcome of the work of the JCPS cluster, which to me was extremely worrisome that I'll be called to come and account and to provide my own account of issues, but already there is a pre-delivered report which is being presented. It raises questions to me over and above what I said earlier. Nonetheless, having said that, I am willing to cooperate with the Commission if they want to raise issues on it, but I wanted to go on record that the manner in which the final report was compiled by the JCPS smells fishy, and normally if it smells fishy, it is fish. And I'm raising that because of what I've explained, Chair, that the people that interviewed me, I would have expected that they are the people who are also associating with this document, but now there are people who never sat with me at all, but they are the ones compiling the final report. I just wanted to go on record on that, and that I'll be willing to cooperate fully with the Commission, but I just wanted that serious concern noted because it raises a lot of questions in my head, particularly given that the chair of that committee, in our first interaction at NICOC, she was the first one to pronounce that I must not be allowed to use state funds to defend myself legally. And I wasn't sure where that came from either, because I thought I was being, if you like, interviewed for what happened during the execution of my job as Chief of Protocol. So I wasn't sure. So I thought there was already a bias. And then when the report comes in the way that it did, it definitely raises serious concern on my side. I just want to go on record on that and then handle whatever questions I can, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Let's proceed.
Thank you. So what you are taking about the report is the process, but you haven't identified factual inaccuracies in the report.
There are.
Could you please identify them?
One of them that, for example, Ms. Sindane also made reference to is that I told somebody that the Minister of Transport has approved landing in Waterkloof. Surely, you would also appreciate that I won't be that naive to expect a Minister from Transport to supersede the Minister of Defense when the Waterkloof is the base falling under the authority of Minister of Defense. So surely the only thing I wanted to go on record again on is that, yes, Minister of Transport spoke to me about the landing in OR Tambo, but never did I make reference to it landing in Waterkloof.
Yes. What other inaccuracies are they?
I cannot recall all of them now, because if maybe you ask question, I'll be able to indicate, because there was a lot of information. Maybe I may also indicate that a lot of information was given to us extremely late, Chair, and maybe to correct also the impression created that we requested a postponement to Monday because we wanted to make an affidavit is inaccurate. It was because we got some of the documents actually on Friday, so I could not prepare. I would not have prepared properly without access to that. So that was the only reason, primary reason, why we requested an extension. So clearly, with all the documents in the possession of the Commission, it's been an extremely difficult period for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just refer you to what I believe, which is something that what Major GC has confirmed, because as I think you would appreciate the fact that the conversations that you had with Colonel Anderson and with Major GC are critical conversations. So I would like you to comment on those. So if you don't mind, could you please have a look at Exhibit FF1, which is the report, where the report is contained. And then you can just tell the chairperson where you believe that.
FF1 page?
FF1, if you could please turn to page 11. And it will be or next to paragraph 2.1.12. On 2 April 2013, the Chief of State Protocol conducted the political advisor to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans to inquire as to the progress with the request. The ambassador stated that he was under pressure from number one on the matter. The political advisor stated that he was not in a position to respond at that point in time. Is that statement correct?
No, it's not, ma'am.
Okay. All of it, or certain parts of it?
I did call the advisor after the ambassador of India said he is aware that the request has been elevated to the minister. So I wanted to find out from him if the minister had made any or applied her mind to the said request.
Yes. So which part of that paragraph that I've read out is not accurate?
The reference that I was under pressure from number one.
Yes. Only that part.
Yes.
Thank you.
In fact,
Sorry.
Yeah, that's basically it, yes.
Yes, thank you. And then paragraph 2.1.15. On 9 April 2013, the Chief of State Protocol telephoned Sergeant Major Nchisi at the Air Force Command Post to inquire as to the progress with the clearance request from the Indian High Commission. Nchisi informed the ambassador that the base could only receive flights transporting heads of state and their deputies. Is that paragraph so far correct? Or the contents of that paragraph so far correct?
I do not have a proper recollection of the content of the discussion.
Yes. But
except that it was about following up on whether the flight clearance has been processed or not.
Yes. But would you have, Major Nchisi would have told you what would they normally allow?
I suppose so, but as I indicated earlier, ma'am, I would have also asked him why they had allowed the mother of the King of Swaziland to land at Waterkloof, if those are the only categories. But I'm just saying, if that was my objective, but that wasn't. My objective was just to establish if they have issued or processed the flight clearance.
Yes. So what do we say about that paragraph? You are not sure?
I do not remember that
Yes,
at all.
thank you. Let's move on.
Okay, let's put it this way. According to this report, Warrant Officer Nchisi at the time, according to this report, told you in that conversation that the base could only receive flights transporting heads of state and their deputies. Do you remember him having said that to you, or are you saying you don't remember? He may have said so, but you don't remember, or you say he definitely did not say so?
Chairperson, I doubt that he would have said so, and I'll give you reasons why. Because when he was testifying sitting here, he indicated that people who have utilized the Waterkloof is the head of state, the deputy head of state, and ministers if they're doing business, government business. So he wouldn't have restricted himself to only heads of state and deputies because he knows the work. He's been working in that area for quite some time. That's why I'm saying I find difficulty in associating with a statement which is incomplete, because I would have expected him to actually say, including special envoys, for example, which also landed the Waterkloof. So that's why, for me, that statement makes me feel uncomfortable again.
Well, I can imagine that he might have said heads of state and their deputies if he didn't intend giving the whole list. But if he was then asked, are those the only people, then if he said heads of state and their deputies only, then he would have appreciated that he was now being asked to give the full list.
I think, Chair, it would have been an anomaly for him to say that, because the application for the landing was indicating that it's ministers, not heads of state. So he would have responded to and said, sorry, these ministers, because of this, we are denying them the right to land. So I would have understood that.
Is your recollection that at this stage he knew, he had seen the application or the papers that indicated details about the request?
I wouldn't be able to tell, Chair, because, like I said, unfortunately, the request had been sent directly to
Yes.
to the Department of Defense.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. May we then proceed, Ambassador?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the Ambassador responded that there would be 4 to 5 ministers on board. Does that accord with your recollection?
As I indicated earlier, I could have said that because the High Commissioner of India had told me that there will be four. In fact, I think I said 6 or 8 ministers who will be on board.
Yes. He added that...
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Going to the point that you made in regard to the statement to say you would have been surprised if he gave an incomplete list. If indeed he did say lending at Waterkloof was for heads of state and their deputies, then it would be understandable, would it not, if you then said, you know, the people who are coming include ministers, because you were aware that according to the High Commissioner, it was ministers who were going to be involved in the play in terms of government officials and not other people.
Chair, the way I read it, again, subject to correction, is that if he says to me, it's only the heads of state and their deputies who land there, and that is an understanding we both establish, I think it will make more sense than for me to say, oh yes, by the way, there is a deputy president in the plane.
Yes.
So for me, it doesn't necessarily follow that the mentioning
Yes.
that there will be ministers is linked to the statement that you might have made earlier.
I'm sorry, just repeat that last
I'm
bit.
saying to Chair, I'm trying to indicate, Chair, that there is no direct link between the two. There may be or they may not be linked, because if you say, sorry, we only allow people, like when you go to some places, they say, sorry, we only allow people who are 18 years and older. You say, of course, I'm 18. You then show that. You don't say I'm 14. So even in this case, when they say it's only heads of state and their deputies, for me to make to continue engaging based on that, I would have had to say, indeed, also in this plane coming, there is a deputy president or a president.
Unless, of course, your understanding was that ministers can also land there under certain circumstances, despite what he was saying.
I agree, Chair, and I'm sure also that even in his understanding, he knows that ministers land there. And earlier this morning, Ambassador Majila made reference, for example, to Hillary Clinton, who has landed there many a times. Ministers do land there, and I'm 100% sure that he knows that.
Yes, no, what I mean is, if he said to you, heads of state and their deputies land here, and you know that ministers also land there under certain circumstances, it appears to me to be natural for you to say, to refer to ministers, because that might just remind him that ministers do also actually land there. Or you don't think so?
I do not recall, Chairperson,
Yes.
but of course, I could have said that
Yes.
ministers, but I do not recall.
You don't recall, yeah. But it's possible, but you are not sure.
not recall that at
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. He added that the Minister of Transport, Mr. Ben Martins, had been given instructions by the President to assist the Gupta family, that the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans has no objection, that at a meeting of the Minister of Transport, the CEO of AXA, and the Guptas, he had been told to assist, and that this was a unique case.
I deny categorically that statement. It sounds very much like the media statement I read after they discovered of the meeting that Minister of Ben Martins had in OR Tambo.
Yes. So everything that I've read is inaccurate.
I do not recall that at all.
Yes, thank you. And then GC requested a note or a letter from the... Sorry.
Well, some of these are important pieces. So I just want to draw attention that if you don't recall, if you say you don't recall, what it means is that it could be that you said it. It could be that you did not say it. So it's important that you make up your mind as to whether the position is that you don't recall, it could be that you said it, it could be that you didn't say it, or you are quite clear that you did not say it. In which case, if you are quite clear that you did not say it, then you say, I definitely did not say it. So I just want to explain that so that you understand what meaning I attach to a statement when you say I don't recall, so that you can make sure I get exactly what you want to convey.
Chair, may I ask
Yes.
for clarity in the question?
Yes, okay.
If you read the line that you just read to me, for example, it states that, it says he added that the Minister of Transport had been given instructions by the President to assist the Gupta family, that the Minister of Defense and Minister of Veterans has no objection, that at a meeting of the Minister of Transport, the CEO of AXA and the Guptas, he had been told to assist, and that this was a unique case. Who would have told the Minister of, I'm just thinking aloud, I'm not trying to ask, I'm the one answering questions, but I'm trying to highlight the other inaccuracies in this report. Who would have told Minister Martins when we had indicated that the people in the meeting was myself, the CEO of AXA, Mr. Gupta, and the Minister Martins, and we already reported what transpired in that meeting. But the way that reads, it's like Mr. Martins had been given an instruction to assist, and that's what I'm trying to say. I'm getting, confused. Who would, inform Minister Martins to actually do so?
Thank you.
Well, where it says he added, I take that to be a reference to you, is that correct?
Yes.
That you added, the same sentence that you were dealing with just now, at the beginning of it. He added that the Minister of Transport, Mr. Ben Martins, had been given instructions. And my understanding is that the he is a reference to you. Is that your understanding as well?
If that is what is meant, then I hear, but
I don't think that takes care of the point you have made. It may be, maybe I might have misunderstood. My understanding is that because the previous sentence relates to you, the ambassador responded that there would be 4 to 5 ministers on board. Then the next sentence, he added that the Minister of Transport, Mr. Ben Martins, had been given instructions. That he, I understand, to be a reference to the ambassador. That would be your understanding of this as well, or not really?
if you clarified like that, Chair, but again, like I said, I do not recall, Chair.
If it's read like that, then you understand it, but you don't recall.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
And then, of course, it says, he added that the Minister of Transport, Mr. Ben Martins, had been given instructions by the President to assist the Gupta family, that the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans has no objection, that at a meeting of the Minister of Transport, the CEO of AXA and the Guptas, he had been told to assist, and that this was a unique case. This last he had been told to assist. My initial reaction was that it's a reference to the minister, and if read like that, it seems to me it would mean the minister was told at the meeting involving AXA at the airport to assist. But it's possible that that he refers to you having been told to assist because this is a unique case. I'm not sure. I'm just putting ideas that come to my mind as I try to understand what is being said. You understand that?
I think the distinction that the Chair is identifying of the two meanings is exactly what I was also saying. I was identifying as confusing in that statement.
Yes, yes. But you say whoever the he's referred to, you have no recollection that
No, I do not recall, Chair.
this was said.
Yes, sir.
And even if the suggestion that it was said by you, you say
I don't recall that.
you don't recall.
Correct.
And you appreciate the distinction that I've just said about
Correct, sir.
being about saying I don't recall or Never, I never said
Correct.
it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And then GC requested a note or a letter from the ambassador. Do you recall that?
He did say that he must send something in writing, and that's when I asked my PA to send an email saying that can they please process that the application, which unfortunately I think we went through it in the morning, was sent in a way which said I've authorized it when I don't have such powers.
Yes. Then the ambassador responded that the challenge was that this could not be put in writing.
No, I could not say that and then immediately instruct my PA to send an email to confirm that I want them to process, and also ask my PA to copy two of the senior managers in the protocol section, which is my deputy, Ms. Sally Ramokgopa and Ms. Grace Mason.
So he added that he had met with Lieutenant Colonel Anderson the previous week to show them around the area. Did that happen? Did you at any stage meet with Colonel Anderson? Did you go around the area? I would imagine maybe at Waterkloof?
The only time that I met with Colonel Anderson at Waterkloof was when we went there to do a dry run before the arrival. Like for whenever you've got delegations coming, landing there, some will request that they would like to do a pre-inspection to see how they're going to plan it. And it was something standard that we used to do a lot in the 2.5 years that I worked there, which also I'm sure will appear in the report of the meeting with the public protector, which was held to verify that very same point.
Yes, but this showing around, did it relate to the landing of Jet Airways?
I just do not remember that at all, ma'am.
Okay. You do not remember it, or it never occurred?
No, I know that there was an inspection because I did ask her to if she could arrange to meet with the people, and I know that there was there were people who went there from events management company who went there to actually see how they could actually do the deco for the arrival.
Yes. So this would have been for the arrival of the Jet Airways aircraft.
For the Jet
For the
Airways
Gupta
aircraft,
wedding.
yeah. Correct.
Yes. So this then, according to you and your recollection, Ambassador, this would have happened prior
Before the landing.
Before the landing.
Correct.
Yes, and it would have also happened prior to the 9th of April, because that's the date when you spoke to Major Ntshisi.
I am not sure of that. I do not recollect the dates, ma'am. It's been a long time.
Yes. So what else did you become part of in preparation for the landing, other than for the events management company, for the Gupta wedding that went to have a look at Waterkloof? What other activities did you participate in prior to the landing?
I am not sure I understand what you mean by activities, ma'am, but as far as I know, that's basically, my job was only in protocol, and I had no other business in all other, portfolios, because those fell under different people.
Yes. So can we agree then that at this point, when you went together with Colonel Anderson to look at the Waterkloof, this aircraft had not received clearance at that point?
No, ma'am. The only time that you can allow people to come and do a pre-inspection is only when they've received the flight clearance, and then after receiving flight clearance, then they arrange to go and do a pre-arrival inspection about how they're going to deal with the things there.
Yes. But then let's just retract it. Rather, let's retrace our steps. If on the 9th of April, that is the day when we were speaking to Major Ntshisi, that is the day when the clearance had not happened, but already you were telling him that Colonel Anderson is aware of this because she had been to Waterkloof. Well, you've just told us now with the events company, management company. Now, at that point, there was no clearance when Colonel Anderson went.
I think, ma'am, first of all, I think you meant to say the company went because Colonel Anderson worked at Waterkloof, so she was always perpetually there. That's one. Number two, I'm saying again, ma'am, although I do not recall the exact sequencing and the date because of the time lag, all I'm certain of is that there is no way that I would have said to him that we have already had a pre-inspection if the the flight clearance had not been issued. And I mean, I don't remember the exact dates, like,
Okay.
you know, as they are like that.
All right, we're going to come back to the dates, and I'm going to show you, Ambassador, that at the time when we were telling Major Ntshisi that Colonel Anderson had been there, Major Ntshisi had not issued a clearance certificate, because if it did not happen, if it happened before the 9th, then clearly when Colonel Anderson went to do with the events company to go there, there was no clearance that had been issued for this aircraft. But we'll get back to that. I don't want us to
It's okay.
I want us to deal with what we're dealing with now.
It's okay.
Okay, but I'll show you that. Thank you. Now, the ambassador, I beg your pardon, we were, okay, to show them the area. GC should contact the Lieutenant Colonel to confirm this. So you're telling GC on that day that you must contact Colonel Anderson to confirm this. The ambassador stated clearly that this was for the Gupta family wedding. So would that accord with your recollection?
No, I do not.
You do not recall?
Yes.
Yes. What is it that you do not recall that you would have told him that it was a Gupta wedding, or the fact that he must contact Colonel Anderson because she had been there?
I do not recall telling him that it was a Gupta wedding.
Yes, thank you. Now, he instructed GC to call him back. Do you recall asking GC to call you back?
When I tried to call initially and I didn't get him, and I left a message, and then secondly I said once they've established whether they were granting or not granting, then they must call me back to let me know so I could convey such information to the High Commissioner of India.
Yes. And then on 13 May 2013, the Director General in the Presidency stated that at no point did the President give instructions to Ambassador Kolwane or discuss the issue of the landing of the aircraft with him. Would that statement be correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Regarding the specific...
I'm sorry, I've lost you where you are.
well,
I was looking for something
I
else.
beg your pardon, Chair, it's the last paragraph.
Of the report?
No, page 11. I beg your pardon.
Oh,
Page
okay.
11. We're still
Okay,
on
all
page
right.
11. We dealt with, instructed GC to call him back. And then on 13 May 2013, the Director General in the Presidency stated that at no point did the President give instructions to Ambassador Kolwane or discuss the issue of the landing of the aircraft with him.
I'm sorry, I missed you. I was looking for something else.
Chair, is the Chair at page 11?
No, I am on that page. I want
Yes.
to talk about something that you may have asked already.
Yes, Chair.
In that paragraph, after the part that we were dealing with, which you could not recall, relating to somebody being told to assist, and that this was a unique case, it's reflected that Mr. GC requested a note or letter from the ambassador, and that the ambassador responded that the challenge was that this could not be put in writing. She probably has asked you this. What is your answer to
No, I
whether
responded,
there was
Chair.
that exchange or not?
I said that is not an accurate reflection of what I did.
Yes.
Because on the contrary, I instructed my PA to send an email that, yes, I do want them to continue processing the application and then let us know so that we can inform the Indian High Commissioner about the outcome thereof. And I'd asked my PA to also copy 2 of my senior managers in the process because I had no issues to hide. So why would I would not have said, therefore, that I cannot put in writing.
So you say you never said that, or you can't remember whether you said it? The statement that on this page is attributed to you, and it is said that it came from Warrant Officer Ntshisi.
No, Chair, unfortunately, like I said, I do not recall at all some of these things because of the time lag, and unfortunately, had the JCPS team called me at that time when all was fresh in my mind, I would have been in a better position to respond. But now I'm sitting with this more than 6 years later, and obviously it's something I've been trying to put behind my back in the first place. So I do not have a very vivid or accurate recollection of some of the sequencing and some of the issues that transpired. But
So
of course,
yes.
like I said,
Please finish. Yeah.
and of course, like I said, I'm trying to cooperate with the Commission to the best of my ability, despite the challenge that I've indicated.
Yes, no, I
getting
understand that.
some information, documents on Friday,
Yes.
and having to try and squeeze with my legal counsel
Yes.
based on their availability.
Yes.
try to recall some of the things. It's rather difficult.
Yes.
But nonetheless, I'm not using that as an excuse for anything. I'm just trying to say that I may not have a fair recollection when it comes to date or the timing, for example.
Yes. I know that your legal team did ask that you be given a chance to give evidence this week, to which I agreed, and I said Monday. At the time we spoke, I think it would have been Tuesday or Wednesday?
It was on Tuesday, Chair.
On Tuesday. I know that at that time, your legal team and you were still waiting to be finished with certain documents. And I know that I think Ms. Norman indicated, or somebody indicated from the legal team, that you would be given documents as soon as possible. I don't think at that stage there was any contemplation of any delay in terms of documents that the Commission did have already. But you have indicated that you only got some on Friday, is that correct?
Chair, first correction is that the request was made on Wednesday when we came here, not on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
It was on Wednesday.
Yes.
And we were promised that we'll get them on Wednesday.
Yes.
But unfortunately, we only got the first batch on Thursday.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to indicate the sequencing. And if you look at the bulkiness of the information,
Yes.
we had to deal with, I think it's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise I could have used an argument that I've not been given enough time, I need a month, I request a month's
Yes.
extension, but I just wanted to subject myself to this process so
Yeah.
that I can continue with my work.
Okay, let me tell you something in relation to the Commission that may assist. The Commission was going to sit tomorrow in order to hear other evidence, but I've been told that the witness who was going to give evidence tomorrow is not able to do so due to family situation. Now, I wonder whether, to the extent that you may have a complaint or concern that you haven't had enough time to look at the documentation, you think it would help if we adjourned and allowed you time and then come back tomorrow? I understand you only need to leave later for I assume, the Netherlands.
Correct. No, we can continue, Chair. I was just indicating, because I don't really believe that if we extend it to tomorrow, given that my legal counsel also has got other
Yes.
legal obligations with other
Yes.
clients, we may not necessarily even have time to consult with them. So I mean, just as
Yes.
well, it will just be a
Yes.
waste of the Chair's time as well as that of the Commission to do
Yes.
so.
No, no, it's fine, and I'll ask what your council's attitude is. I'm saying this because we do want to make sure that everyone feels that they have a fair opportunity. Let me hear if your council has anything to say in regard to this. Where we can, we wouldn't like a situation where later, when everything is done, there is still a feeling that had I been given a little bit more time, I may have dealt with issues differently. Yes, Council?
Chair, in the greater scheme of things, the difference between adjourning now or continuing is really negligible.
Yes.
The instructions that we have had thus far is, given the peculiar nature of what this witness does, having been posted overseas, it's difficult to coordinate, and so we thought it best, in an effort to be cooperative, to try and use the time as fruitfully as possible.
Yes, yes.
And that remains our instructions.
Okay.
But we, of course,
Yes.
I'm constrained to reserve my client's rights, obviously,
Yes.
given the amount of time. But really, I think in essence what we're saying is, if we really want to utilize the time fully as a normal witness would, and leaving aside our efforts to try and be as cooperative as possible, well then it wouldn't be possible to give evidence this week. We would have to adjourn and you'd have to come back at a later date. We don't want to go there as presently advised. We want to use the time. And so our attitude at this stage is we would like to continue, but with a reservation of rights.
Yes. Okay, all right, thank you. I think what your counsel has said seems to be in accordance with what you have said.
Yes, Chair, and again, maybe I may just also add one thing to what my legal counsel has said, that our reservations don't only emanate from the timing, but also from the fact that when we requested some of the testimony that was utilized by the former people who appeared before this commission, we were told that that's classified, we cannot have access to it, and yet it was admissible to be used here, particularly implicating me. So in terms of being able to prepare myself properly, I feel that my rights were prejudiced because I'm engaging with people who have probably seen, listened, and heard what they're talking about, and given that a 6-year period had lapsed, I have been denied that right to also have the same access, but yet the information is admissible to be utilized by those who are leading the interrogation. So I'm just feeling, Chair, and again, please bear with me for my naivety. I may not necessarily understand that certain processes maybe allow for those who are leading evidence to be the only ones with access to certain information, and those affected be denied because of it being exclusive. But to a lay person, it says there's something just not right. That's all I was trying to say.
Well, I don't know exactly what documents you have in mind, but there is no document that I'm aware of as we speak that the Commission has, which may not be made available to you. Whether or not it may have been available sometime last week, I don't know, but as I speak now, I'm not aware of a document that may not be made available to you, but I do know that on Thursday, as of Thursday, there was a transcript or recording that the Commission had wanted, which had not been made available to the Commission, and despite certain promises having been made. And I drew that to the attention of the Chief of the Air Force, who was giving evidence, and asked him to facilitate the release of the document or the recording, which he undertook to look into. And over the weekend, on Friday, I was told that either that had been made available at some stage or was going to be made available over the weekend. So to the extent that you might refer to that, I can assure you that I have not seen it, but I've been told that it is there. I've not even seen it myself. I was told that there was, I think, a memory stick or something like that, and it was left at the gate with the police at my official residence, I was told, but it has never reached me. So as we speak, I don't know about that. But anything that you want to have sight of, nobody can or should deny you that without me having a final say. If anybody says you are not entitled to have it, you can raise that through your lawyers with me, and then I can hear what the problem is and can make a ruling. So I just want to mention that part. But I don't know if there are other parts, but I see your counsel is back in front of me, so I think maybe probably would prefer that he speaks.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Chair, your characterization of the events is what was relayed to us, and we certainly have no reason to doubt that. But where we have some concern is not that necessarily documents are being, or recordings are being deliberately withheld, but that once they are becoming available, they become available during the course of the testimony, and the witness doesn't have an opportunity to consider them before he's questioned in relation to the contents of those conversations.
Yes, yes.
So what springs to mind in particular is specific recordings that I believe are on record as having been held between the ambassador and Colonel Anderson. And in my learned friend's questioning this morning, she did touch on some of the conversations, and I withheld an objection at that point. But we place on record now that we have some concern if there's going to be questioning in regard to those conversations before we've had an opportunity to listen to those recordings. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, with special reference to that one, I mean, to the recording to which I've made reference, my understanding is that the evidence leader intended to lead evidence on that and to ask me for leave to play it. But if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, and he has not had a chance, I would be inclined to think that might be a reason for us to adjourn and then continue tomorrow so that you get that opportunity to do that. What's your attitude to that?
Yes, Chair, that is certainly something we would want to take you up on that offer. And of course, that goes for any recordings or any documents that are intended to be used, I think, as a matter of principle.
Yeah, but what it does also, even though you and your client might have taken a different view, is that it also does give him and yourselves an opportunity to look at any other documents that have been given to you on which he might not have had time to reflect properly. And then when we continue tomorrow, hopefully some of the documents that he might not have had enough time to look at, he might have had some more time.
Yes, Chair, I'm not sure it necessarily solves the problem completely, but it mitigates the problem.
Yeah, it mitigates, yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Ms. Newman?
Thank you, Chair.
What do you have to say about these things?
Chair, there were certainly no documents that were withheld on the basis that they were not to be made available to the witness.
Yes.
The only document that had not been declassified as of this morning was the FF12, which I referred the chairperson to, which is the documents that were from the presidency and also the DECO report, which is attached to Ambassador Makila's evidence. We got then the declassification from the DG of DERCO insofar as that report is concerned. That's the one thing. The second thing, the recording was made available to me yesterday afternoon on Sunday. And I did mention to the representatives of Ambassador Kolwane that recording is not made available to me, but it is made available to the chairperson. And I cannot simply just play it without the chairperson giving me authority to do that. And this is something that we discussed during the lunch, the long break. I have no difficulty with an adjournment, but I'm just concerned, Mr. Chairman, that we may come back tomorrow, and then the witness testifies tomorrow, and he goes back and says, but still, there's something that I did not get. I would prefer a situation where the witness, because he has been brought here by the Commission at the Commission's expense, if the witness is of the view that he has not been afforded adequate opportunity for him to prepare thoroughly, I would prefer a situation where he's given the time that he wants, so that he doesn't come back later on and say, look, I was not afforded adequate opportunity. I'm concerned, Chair, that if he listens to the recordings tonight, and then he comes back tomorrow morning, and certain questions are asked about the process as a whole again tomorrow morning, he may again say, look, if the cluster had asked me this, I would have told them this. I'm not comfortable with the approach that they are adopting, because the Commission doesn't have time. We can't keep on going back to matters simply because people are not comfortable. I think I would suggest, Chair, that the best way, they must indicate to the Chair how much time do they require to prepare fully. And then once they've given that indication, Chair affords them that opportunity so that when they come back, he is ready to answer all the questions. And probably he might even want to prepare a statement and deal with the JCPS cluster report in whole. Yes.
Which documents, all right, let me put it this way. As at Wednesday last week,
Yes, Chair.
when his counsel requested that he gives evidence this week and not last week,
Yes.
what documents had they been given already and what documents had they not been given? You see, there are a number of documents that are relevant to his evidence.
Yes.
And if, for example, one knows by when they had how much of the documents and whatever was left, one knows exactly what was
Yes.
outstanding and when the part that was outstanding was given to him,
Yes.
then I'm in a position to assess whether the days that he had, the time that he has had is adequate. But if I don't know when he got what, then it's difficult.
Chair, I can easily establish that because Mr. Derek De Beer, who is the one who sent the first batch of documents that was requested, were given, because on Wednesday, I think they had a problem with the link. They were given the link, and I think they got some documents and they didn't get some, if my memory serves me well. On Thursday, then there was another request made with a long list of documents that they requested. Some of those were not in our possession. For instance, they wanted the certain annexures to the report, and they wanted the audios that we're talking about, which we do not have. And I was advised by the Secretary of the Commission that on Friday, a link was also given in respect of those documents. But then at the time when that was established, there was already a letter that had been received from ambassadors' lawyers saying that you still have not given us documents. And we went to to Derek, Mr. De Beer, and we said to him, please check whether the documents that you sent have been downloaded. And he confirmed that yes, they had been received and there was a one download. And a letter had to be caused to be written to say, we confirm that that has been sent and there has been a download already. But without giving evidence from the bar, I could establish all of that information and I would give it to the chair exactly what was given.
That would have been when, Wednesday or Thursday?
That was on Thursday. I beg your pardon, Chair. I'm confusing it because we did not sit on Friday.
Yes.
That was on Thursday.
On Thursday.
Yes, yes. But I could establish, yes.
So on your understanding, if those documents that you think Mr. De Beer sent on Thursday were sent,
yes.
How much was outstanding by the end of the day or by Friday morning?
My understanding is that he would have sent everything that he had in his possession because he extracted most of the documents. I remember that I was upset with him that he did not send them early on Thursday.
Yes,
But
yes.
because he had to extract those matters that are relevant to Ambassador, then that took a while.
Yes.
Yes. But my understanding, I have not received anything like as of today to say you have not given us this particular file or something like that. Yes.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Of course, we are not in a situation where Ambassador Kolwane or his legal team came this morning and said, we are not ready.
Yes.
We need more time. That's not the situation. But we want to make sure, I want to make sure as far as possible that
Yes.
There is fairness to everybody.
Yes.
It may be that there are certain matters that we can still cover this afternoon and maybe others tomorrow That's one option. But it may well be that maybe if certain issues are quite central to everything, that maybe we should adjourn until tomorrow in the hope that this would add to the time.
Yes.
And if Mr. Kolwana's counsel come tomorrow and make an application and they say they can't continue, or Mr. Kolwana can't continue, then we take it from there. They would have to make an application for a postponement if that is the case. My understanding is that they would like to avoid that. They would like that this time be used as much as possible. But I think you make the point that they might have to be put to an election so that we don't have a situation where we spend this time and go on, and then later on they say there was unfairness because they were not given time. Whereas if they say, look, it's not going to be fair, we need more time, we might decide to say, okay, if they have make out a good case, we'll adjourn.
Yes,
Because I think what you have in mind is if we proceed not knowing where they stand, it might defeat the whole purpose.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, might I also mention, Chair, that because we anticipated that we would play the audio at this hearing, we had invited Major Njisi to be present.
Yes.
So that we do not have to replay it when he is recalled by the Commission.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe with your leave, Chair, would it be possible to allow the playing of that? The one recording is 5 minutes. That is the recording between Ambassador Kolwane and Major Njisi. And then the other one is 22 minutes, which is various recordings of the conversations between Major Njisi and other officials.
Well, I'm reluctant to allow the playing of the recording before they can hear it.
As Chair,
but let me hear what Counsel for Mr. Kolwane has to say, and then we try and finalize this.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Again, in regard to the production of documents, we don't point fingers at anyone. To the extent that they weren't given, we don't suggest that was on purpose.
Yes.
And you know, the Commission does what it can.
Yes.
We understood that we would receive documents late in the day on Wednesday. That, as we understood it, was the undertaking which was given. We understand and we accept at face value what my learned friend says, that attempt was made and that a link was sent on the Wednesday, but it wasn't received.
Yes.
On the Thursday, a link was sent, and that attached approximately, well, not approximately, 519 pages worth of documents.
Yes.
And then on Friday afternoon, a further link was sent. Then I think on the Friday, a further link was sent, and that, although there was some duplication between the first bundle and the second bundle, now contained 776 pages of documents.
Yes.
What the ambassador had been given prior to appearing to give evidence on Wednesday was nothing more than only the Rule 3.3 notice, which attached to it an Annexure A and an Annexure B, which is comprised of Ms. Sandani's statement as Annexure A and the JCPS cluster report without any annexures as Annexure B. That's all that he had before. So you'll appreciate, Chair, that it's a voluminous extent of documentation. We do voice our concerns about the prospect of having the recordings played before we've had an opportunity to listen to them, which adds to that. What you, as I understand it, Chair, now have is a suggestion by my learned friend that rather than putting us to pressure and trying to do it all this week, that perhaps we arrange mutually convenient dates in the fullness of time, and then the ambassador will then go back to the Netherlands and by way of an arrangement will then come back in a few weeks or months or whatever it is. I haven't had an opportunity to take instructions on that. It seems somewhat sensible to me as I'm standing on my feet. But obviously, all of this is subject to what you may rule, of course, Mr. Chair. So, in regard to, if there is a suggestion that he must either be put to an election and be held by it, and if there is a suggestion that as an alternative to that, my learned friend and I talk about mutually convenient dates in the fullness of time, I will need an opportunity to take instructions on either of those. But perhaps I could inquire, as a matter of principle, Chair, from you, whether you would be receptive to either of those approaches, perhaps arranging dates in due course, or whether you would insist on the matter proceeding this way.
Well, I would like us to make use of the time that has been set aside, unless there is
prejudice.
Unless unless there is going to be unfairness to him. And if there is going to be unfairness, it wouldn't be on the basis that the next time he comes would necessarily depend on agreed dates. We want to try and we talk to people who are concerned as far as possible, but we want to retain the right to fix the dates, because otherwise, if you are going to wait until everybody has agreed, you won't get anywhere. So, subject to that, I would like only to consider an adjournment that goes beyond to do tomorrow or this week, only if I'm made to understand that otherwise there would be unfairness. And the unfairness, I think, it would be a question of whether, bearing in mind what he would be asked questions about, whether he has been given adequate time of looking at the documents and so on. So in other words, there would have to be, I would have to be convinced. At this stage, I remain open to be persuaded. I'm inclined to think that it ought to be possible for us to continue and finalize without any unfairness to anybody, particularly if we are going to adjourn to allow more time until tomorrow. But if your side takes the view that there definitely is going to be unfairness and it would rather apply for an adjournment, a long adjournment, then I would consider that at that time and look at the grounds. That's why I've asked now how much of the documentation was given when and so on, because although there's a lot of documentation here, my understanding is that a lot of it might not really relate to his role.
Yes.
You know, although his role seems to be quite important, it seems to be narrow to me.
Of course.
And therefore, it ought to be possible to have certain documents that relate to his role, that are important, and to apply one's mind to them and finalize.
Yes, of course, we would have to consider all the documents to determine whether they're relevant or
Yes,
not.
No, I accept that.
The other complication, Chair, and again I raise it just thinking out loud, is of course, in order for us to form a view on whether the ambassador will be prejudiced in continuing or not, this question of the recordings is a spanner in the works. We would obviously want to listen to them first before we make that election.
Yes.
So perhaps my suggestion would be if we could obtain a ruling from you that we're entitled to those recordings, and if we could have them immediately, we could consider them overnight, and then tomorrow we could come back and inform you, Chair, what our position is, whether we are inclined to continue or whether we would seek a postponement.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Now, with regard to what you received over the weekend in regard to the recording of the conversation between, as I understand the position, Ambassador Kolwane and Merchant Chisi,
Yes, Chair.
and Ambassador Kolwane and Colonel Anderson, that is available to him. There's no problem with that, isn't it?
No, no, Chair. It is available. I was waiting for Chair to give directions. I had indicated to Malene and friends that the Chair had not seen and had not heard any of these.
Yes, but
And
there's it's not classified or anything.
It has been
anymore.
declassified now.
Okay.
Yes, Chair. Yes.
That can be given to him
Yes.
then. And then what is the other confidential document or something? There's nothing else.
I'm not aware of any other document.
I thought there was something else that arrived today or something.
Yes, the
This morning.
FF12. That is his letter of appointment as an ambassador. There's nothing
okay.
contentious.
Okay.
And
so
I beg your pardon, Chair, there's also the DERCO report, which is in Ambassador Machila's statement.
the disciplinary hearing report or what?
No, Chair. That is in FA12. That is just the one-page report that Ambassador Machila identified as a report which he forwarded to NICOC. That was the other document that was declassified.
It's available to him.
Yes,
It can be
it has been
given to him.
declassified.
Yeah,
Yes, Chair. You can
yeah.
make it available to him.
So there is nothing that, as far as you know, should not be made available
No.
to him that we have.
No, Chair. Not at all.
Yeah. Okay. So those can be given to him or his lawyers immediately. So but it seems to me that we should adjourn until tomorrow morning, so that they can then they can listen to the recording. And number one, number two, use the time for particularly the witness, but his lawyers may need to as well. If there are any documents that they haven't had a chance to apply their mind to.
Yes, Chair.
But my understanding of his role suggests that even with documents, it shouldn't be many documents that need to be referred to that are in the bundle.
Yes, Chair. But we decided to give them all
Everything,
the bundles, as far as I
yes.
understand.
Yes.
Yes. But
is it your understanding too that those that really relate to him is a very limited
very limited?
number?
Yes, that would
Very
be
limited
FF4, FF3. Those
Yes,
matters that really.
yes.
and
Yeah.
and FF1. Yes,
Yeah.
largely.
Okay, all right.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm happy to adjourn. We can adjourn to tomorrow at 10, and everybody understands why we are adjourning. And then when we resume tomorrow at 10, we can then hear if the witnesses' counsel can indicate to us what the position is. But as I speak, my inclination is that as far as possible, it ought to be possible for us to continue without there being any unfairness to the ambassador. But I will be told if there is any feeling that there will be unfairness.
Thank you,
Okay.
Chair. Thank you.
All right. Ambassador, you have been listening to everything. You understand where everything is going?
Yes, I do, Chair.
You do. Yeah, I am going to adjourn the proceedings now, and we will resume tomorrow at 10 o'clock. The adjournment will serve the purpose of allowing you and your legal team to listen to the recording, but also to have more time to apply your mind to whatever documents you might not have had a chance to apply your mind to. And tomorrow, we would be looking at proceeding, but you and your legal team are free to make any application that you might consider making about a possible adjournment, and then I would make a ruling on it. You understand?
Yes, I do, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
We are going to adjourn then until tomorrow at 10 o'clock. We adjourn.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you.